Latin 2. Whew, we are almost done with the year. Almost done with the whole year. And that means we're almost out of topics. But we're not out of topics. And the few topics that we have left are really important ones. They're not like little dumb topics that you kind of put in just to have something. No, they're real big ones. Specifically, we have three kinds of subordinate clause left that we need to know before the year's out. Real common stuff, stuff that you see often. If it were uncommon or weird stuff, they wouldn't have it in Latin 2. They would, save it to Latin 3 or never if you could avoid it. But yeah, we have three kinds of subordinate clauses left, and to fully understand those and use those subordinate clauses, we need to go ahead and learn our last two tenses of the subjunctive. Before now, I've already shown you the forms of the imperfect and pluperfect subjunctive, and I've actually talked about the present already because in the video I uploaded right before this one, I explained how the present and perfect interact with the sequence of tenses. But I didn't actually show you what the forms look like, and I didn't show you any examples of them being used. So I'll show you examples of them being used when I make videos on those different kinds of subordinate clauses. And I'm going to show you what the actual forms are in this one. All right, but I'm only going to do the present. I'm not going to do like with the imperfect and pluperfect where I did one video for two tenses. I'm going to keep them separate here. So this is just on the forms of the present subjunctive. After you watch this, you can take the knowledge from this video and use it to make any regular verb into a present subjunctive. All right? And even a lot of the irregular ones too. But to do this, I want you to remember a phrase. We fear a liar. We do. We fear a liar. And I know you're thinking like, well, that must mean that the present subjunctive is the tense that we use for telling lies. No, that's not what it's about. But it's a really handy phrase to remember when you're trying to make your subjunctives. And I didn't make this up. This is not something from my brain. This is a mnemonic device that was taught to me back when I was in my beginning Latin class. And I've heard many people use the same phrase, although some different ones. And let me show you why. All right? This has to do with the different conjugations that verbs come in. Right? And you'll remember this from Latin 1, hopefully, right? We have different groupings of regular verbs. First, second, third IO, and fourth, right? And we know that a first is a first because it goes from O to ARE, right? From first to second principal part, you get O in the first principal part, ARE in the second, right? And in the second, you get a strong E in front of the O plus an ERE, a long E, in the infinitive. And then in a third, you go from O to ERE, a weak ERE, no long mark. In third IOs, you still get the same infinitive as a third, but there's an I in front of the O. And then for fourths, you have IO and IRE, right? So you use these principal parts to tell if it's first, second, third, fourth, conjugation, whatever, right? Or even irregular if it doesn't have one of these. And the point of knowing which of the conjugations that your verb is in is so you know how to spell it, because your verb stem is going to end in some vowel, right? And so when you're conjugating in the present tense or anything that's based on the present stem, you're going to end in whatever vowel is appropriate to the conjugation of that verb, which is to say A, E, well, this one's weird because sometimes C, sometimes I, and then I's, right? That's what you get from this. And if you've been conjugating present or imperfect or future tense verbs for a long time, you should already be familiar with this. We use these when we do our participles. So for the present participle, at least, we're using the present stem. You're going to use all these. Or if you're somebody not in one of my classes and you've done gerunds or gerundives in the past, my students at this point have not yet. But if you've done gerunds or gerundives in the past, or if you're watching this for review, then you'll know the present stem from those as well, where you're using A, E, and then again, depends on which one of the things you're doing, but E or I and then I's, right? Or sometimes IE together. That's the knowledge that you get from that. Except when they're subjunctive. When they're subjunctive, what you're conjugating is still going to be based on the present stem, this present stem. But instead of using the vowel that you see, you are going to change the vowel. And you're going to change it according to this pattern. We fear a liar. All right? Now, I know there's only 4 words here, and I have 5 things over here because the third IO is always like a little tricky thing. But the third IO always behaves the same as the fourth, so you can apply a liar to third IO or fourth. So you're using these vowels for first, second, third, and fourth/third IO conjugations. That's what they're there for. You don't have to use this mnemonic device if you don't like it. You could always just remember it without a mnemonic device, or you could use a different one. I heard one where somebody actually split the third IO and fourth, even though they have the same vowels, by using the mnemonic Elvis wears a diamond tiara. So you have diamond and tiara both representing IAs. Pretty clever and pretty funny. It's not the one I was taught on, but I do actually like Elvis wears a diamond tiara. However, I think my favorite one that I ever heard, and this was one that I heard from somebody else's student. Again, I did not make any of these up, but my favorite one was Shrek wears a diaper. It's an absurd image. But if you can remember how to spell all those words, you'll get the same vowel pattern no matter which of those mnemonics you're using. E, EA, A, and IA. And it's these vowels that you're going to use instead of A, E, I, weak vowel thing, and I. So as an example, if I go ahead and conjugate these verbs here, right, flow, right, flow flattery, which means to blow, that's where we get words like inflate, right? Normally we would conjugate this with an A, but in the present subjunctive, we're not going to use an A. We're going to change that A to an E, so that if you wanted to say I blow, it would be phlegm, or you blow would be flays, or, the wind blows would be flet. All right. The actual personal endings, in fact, are no different than they've always been. You get O or M in the first person, in this case M, and then ST, mustus, nt, right? The same old stuff. The difference is instead of A's, you're using E's, which can be a little tricky because that actually makes this particular verb, floflare, look a lot like fleoflere. But if this verb were subjunctive, you would use EA. Fleam, fleas, fleats, fleamus, fleatis, and fleant. All right? And that's actually fairly distinctive looking. You don't see a lot of verbs that have EA in them like that unless they're second conjugation subjunctive verbs. In the same sense, we take fluo, fluere, which means to flow. And where we would have had basically I's, we get A's. All right? So you have fluam, fluas, fluat, etc. And then the fourth and the third IO are essentially the same as that, except you have to keep the I, right? In thirds, you would have an I and that changes to an A. In the fourth, you're going to change to an A, but you keep the I as well, so that you have finiam, finias, finiat, finiamus, finiatis, finiant. Now, I know I didn't actually put the third IO in here, but I was running out of board space, so... And the third IO really is the same as the fourth. I had fodio over there to dig, which would be fodiam, fodias, fodiat, etc. Okay? So that's what the forms actually look like. If you can remember either this phrase, we fear a liar, or one of those alternate phrases, Shrek wears a diaper, Elvis wears a diamond tiara, you can make up your own phrase if you want, as long as it has words with the vowels E, EA, A, and IA to remind you of what order that goes in. All right? Now, a couple of corrections, apologies, caveats. I'm sorry I started with all FLs and then I ran out of FLs. I couldn't find any third IOs or fourths that started with FLs, but I did keep it all with Fs. So for those of you guys who like that kind of consistency. But one more serious note, these are all regular verbs. This is the pattern that you use to make regular present tense subjunctives. This does not account for irregular ones. That said, I did actually already do a video on this, so you can always go back into my videos and see the previous one that I did on irregulars. Actually, a lot of the irregulars aren't that irregular. Most of them actually behave more or less like a third or a second. But some of the irregulars are a little bit weird, and for quick reference, we're talking about sim, welim, edim, but a lot of the other ones are totally normal. So that's what you need to know about the forms of the present subjunctive. Oh, no, one more thing. I didn't put passive forms up here. but that just means you put a passive ending instead of an active one. So M to R, S to RAS, T to TER, etc. All right. But otherwise, this is what you need to know. I'll come back soon in a few days with another video on the perfect subjunctive to make sure you get on that too. And then I'll start showing you actual sentences where you get to use them because I know you can't wait. Anyway, bye guys.